Я помню тот Ванинский порт и вид парохода угрюмый, как шли мы по трапу на борт в холодные мрачные трюмы. От качки стонали зэка, обнявшись, как родные братья, и только порой с языка срывались глухие проклятия. А утром растаял туман, утихла пучина морская, восстал на пути Магадан, столица Колымского края. Я знаю, меня ты не ждешь, и писем моих не читаешь. Встречать ты меня не придешь, а встреча меня не узнаешь.
We have a criminal justice system that actually helps our communities, that lifts up our communities rather than locking them down and destroying their futures. That is what's ultimately at stake. It's not just a question of racism or class, it's a question of what kind of investments are we making in our communities. Are we investing in police and prisons and saying that's a public safety strategy? The safest communities have the best jobs, education, no police and no prisons. So if we want public safety or community safety, if that's the value, let's have the same strategy in the inner city that's working in the suburbs.
The next step is, how do we solve it? How do we go about eradicating race as a factor? And it is going to take, I think, really a social movement towards making sure that the laws are drafted in a way so as not to discriminate against certain type of people.
The attitude in the United States is that I don't worry about Jonesy's kids, I only got to worry about mine, and I have them living in this gated community. But you know what? They've got to walk out of that gated community to go to the theater, to go to the shopping mall, to go to the bus depot, to go down to the Fisherman's Wharf, and that's when they're going to encounter Jonesy's kids, and they become victims of crime. So I think that there's a lot. I think also that we're looking at this as a societal problem, because right now when you drive down the road and you hit that pothole, when you go down and you need emergency care but the emergency room has been closed, when you look over and you see that grammar school that's been closed and all the kids have been bused to another school, why is that happening? It's happening because we're funneling all of our monies into our prison systems, into investigations to capture lawbreakers. Where if we get in front of this issue and we raise people to be good citizens, we raise people to obey laws, we teach people how to socialize and interact with others, I think that you'll find that you'll have a better society. And this is something that could occur in 10 years. You could be able to see the results of that type of an effort or investment into our own.
Yeah, one thing we need to begin looking at is how we really rehabilitate people back into society. And I think one of the problems or failures of our prison system is that we have not done a good job of doing that. That if you look at the resources that are available to a person once they're released back into the community in California, you'll get your gate money and that's about it, which is usually a few $100s, and you're released. I just had a client who was released after 13 years in prison, and a federal judge released him after it was determined that he and his co-defendant were innocent. All they were given or offered was the gate money. There was no training programs, no vocational programs, no opportunities afforded to these two individuals who, mind you, spent 13 years in for a crime that they were innocent of. And so you can imagine what happens to people who are released on parole. And so I think that it's high time that California, in following some of the leads, I think it's high time that states like California that incarcerate a lot of people need to look at how we better rehabilitate people back in society, because if we don't do that, then they're going to be back.
The state of California's criminal justice system has been dominated by politics for 20 plus years. The prison guards union, the pro-prison lobby in California has basically been in the pockets of politicians, supporting tough sentencing laws, supporting excessive punishment laws, supporting putting young people in adult prisons at a younger age, 3 strikes, all of the sort of really harsh mandatory incarceration, mandatory sentencing policies in the state of California have been funded by and supported by the pro-prison lobby, which is the prison guards union here in the state. So there needs to be a growing voice of opposition to that power that the prison guards union here has here in California.
Police officers' unions give the big endorsements, they give the big donations, and they defend often the worst offenders in the department. And they're often proud of that they're able to keep people from being fired. What we say is that our definition of a good cop is a cop who will enforce the law against another cop and will uphold the law within the department as well as outside the department. And so what we're saying is that if you want African Americans to not be killed at these extraordinary rates, even in a place like San Francisco, police officers have to know that if they pull their gun and they pull the trigger and it's unwarranted, that there will be a penalty. They will pay a cost. Any other reform, from integration to education to tolerance workshops, will be meaningless as long as the officers who are the most violent get the most promotions.
We need to take California back from the prison guards union. We need to educate judges, educate district attorneys, educate police officers about the experiences that people are having in the criminal justice system, how it's a failed model. It's not going to make communities safer. It's only going to harm communities, especially low-income communities of color. We need to really push for an honest assessment of where are we at here? Where are we at after over 20 years of building the biggest prison system in the world? Who has been helped by this? Well, the only people who've been helped are the people who are making money off of it. Communities aren't safer. Racialized treatment and discriminatory treatment of people of color is at an all-time high in the criminal justice system. And you have states with no money to spend on education, job programs, and healthcare. Now, we need to turn that around and take that back. We need to reverse this trade-off and we need to put the money back into the systems that support opportunities and take the money away from the systems that harm communities.
Well, you know, the war on drugs and the war on terrorism may have in common the feature of being wars that, you know, may well go on in perpetuity, and it's not at all clear that those who are waging the wars want to win them as much as that they want to continue to wage them.
Well, I don't think jail is really the answer. I think the jail is the tail wagging the dog. That's where the bottom line falls and it becomes very visible what is occurring around us. But I think really what we need to get back to are some basics, and that is that we have to, again, reinvest in the Americans, our American citizens.
It's my hope that one day we will have a society that is colorblind, and we will have a society that can enforce laws or prosecute laws without regard to race. But unless we make fundamental changes in the very institution of criminal and juvenile justice, that will not